Hello, welcome to Driven It Dinker Time. I'm sitting here with Barry. We recently returned from a trip to Belgium, to Ninove. There's this cruise. I don't really know why it gets really busy, popular, blah, 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 but it's very, very good. So if you have got an old air-cooled Volkswagen, look up Ninove Cruise to Belgium. It's fabulous. What happens is lots of people with air-cooled cars gather around this city or town, whatever you call it, in Belgium, Ninove. And it's quite fun. And overnight, a lot of people just camp on the streets. They're like, yeah, just camp on the streets, it's fine. And it's really good. However, Barry, sit behind me, his lordship, had a bit of a problem. And I'm going to tell you that after this. So, this cruise I was telling you about. Someone did say, I think it's something like this, if you're Ninove ready, you're summer ready. Because what happens is, on the WhatsApp group, lots of people going, yeah, I'm just getting the car out of the garage, getting the car out of storage, getting the car out of winter. Oh, we've got these problems. People literally frantically trying to get their cars fixed. And I'm sure people like air-cooled Volkswagen for parts and all the other ones absolutely rushed off their feet because people go, shit, I need to get the car ready for Ninove. I, smugly, I'll be honest with you, I sat there, all I did, put some colour-coded bumpers on. I thought, new look for 2025 for Barry. We give him some colour-coded bumpers. So, you know, yeah, everyone's getting their cars ready for Ninove. Now, I took him out of the garage. He's been sitting in the garage for about 5 months. He's done a little bit of backwards and forwards, but not much, because I've been driving all the others. And I went up the driveway, hit the brakes, and I went, they don't feel right. Anyway, after I fit the bumpers on, took him for a drive, take some photos, and I thought, no, it's just me being a bit silly, because I've been driving all the other things. So, yeah, didn't think anything of it, and it went really well. However, when don't you want your brakes to go a bit wonky-woo? When you're driving down the fecking slopes towards Dover. Because if you haven't got any brakes, what happens is you pretty much just end up in the sea. I mean, you won't end up in the sea. I mean, by the time you've gone through passport control and ticket control, you've gone through all these S-bends and curves and stuff, you would have lost all your speed. But you know where I'm going from, comedy. I know, I'm trying to make jokes, not the brochures. Anyway, so I hit the brakes coming down the hill and I went, ooh, they feel a bit shit. But I could feel the pedal pulsating because his back brakes are a bit out of adjustment. They need adjusting. But yeah, I could tell when the back brakes on him go out because the pedal just gets a bit pulsating. Like when you've got a warped disc. Not warped discs, I've replaced all the discs and I've replaced the calipers and the pads and all that stuff. But the pedal just went, but also really soft. Really, really soft. Now, if there was a leak, the fluid level would go down. There was no fluid leak at all. Fluid stayed exactly where it was. And if you bump the pedal, nothing. One thing we did notice though, driving through France, because we stayed the night before on Friday, because the cruise was Saturday, Ninove thing on Sunday. So we stayed over in France in a lovely little campsite, very cheap, French campsites, really, really cheap. But we stayed there. So driving down lovely country roads of France, got up to speed, turned the ignition off. No, the steering lock doesn't come on before someone goes, oh, you put the steering lock on, it's so dangerous. It doesn't on this thing. I should know. I've had it 13 years, 18 years, over a decade. Anyway, turned the ignition off, hit the brakes, whee, came to a nice stop. Started them up again, drove along, hit the brakes. Once you get to that final bit, whee, then you stop. So I'm not really sure what happens. But there was something really peculiar. So I think I'm just about to smash up your fog lamp. But there was something really peculiar that happened. When he's idling, and I can't show you this because he makes so much bloody noise you would never actually hear it anyway. So, when he was idling, and I'm going to do it with the Lin Man School of Dramatic Arts. My friend Mark will get that reference. You know what I mean? Anyway, so engine running, smooth idle. Push your foot on the brake pedal all the way. Started, the idle would drop. Now, one thing we didn't notice, and it was only when we got back to England, when I had him running on chokes, and Dave was out, and I went, right, smash your foot on the brake pedal, because I was underneath having a listen with my stethoscope like a doctor. We played doctors and nurses. We didn't. And when you're on idle, press your foot on the brake pedal, he's idle. Sped up because air is getting in. When he's warmed up, push your foot on the brake pedal, the idle drops because air is getting in with mixture running weak. So you're sort of going, there is a leak somewhere in the servo system. So it was like, ooh, what do we do? I'll tell you. So, what do you do when you get home from a little cruise, when your brake's going a bit wonky? You go to your shed and you pull out your spare brake servo. And you look and you go, it's a bit rusty, I'll give it a zhuzh. I spend all day zhuzhing up, painting it with some stone chip and some satin, make it look like new. However, after I'd done all that, I was looking over it going, well, the vacuum servo pipe looks a little bit wrong position. This looks very, very wrong. And you suddenly look and go, that's for a T25. So you throw it away. Actually, you don't throw it away. What you do is you put it on eBay. Must have earned some money. So anyway, you call your good friends at VW Cool Air in Kent and you go, lads, send us a new servo. I think mine's buggered. And I come to why we think it might be buggered. Now, they did. Now, there are two. I'll let you know. There are two servos available. This is one from BBT. And the difference is these bolts, where it bolts onto your front beam. Because for years and years and years, the brake servo for the Brazilian has been available, but the bolts seem to sit further out. So then you've got to start drilling into your base plate on your front beam. And to be honest with you, I can't be arsed. And when I saw this available, I just went, I'll have that. And to be honest with you, it's the same price. So why bother now with the Brazilian ones? Buy the one from BBT, from Cool Air. Fantastic. But we think the problem is, now, I can't replicate it, as I say, because of the sounds. I can't hear anything. But we think it's this little rubber O-ring that is weeping. Because when you push on the servo, this pushes forward. And I think this brake servo, yes, I have bought a new master cylinder. I've just called it a servo, you idiot. Master cylinder. Only because, what do you call it? Experience teaches me. Well, the one on there is a bit rusty anyway. When you disconnect all your hydraulics, the Fiat in particular, bloody hell, they are dog shit. It all goes wrong. You can never power the bloody things up. So I thought, do you know what? While we're stripping it all down, I'll buy a new one. New switches. Oh, they're nice. Although, I got sent the wrong ones at first. 3-pin, because it's fucking American, isn't it? Anyway, there's a little rubber O-ring that I kept dropping, so I've had to cable tie it to this. And it seals between the servo and your master cylinder. And we think what's happening is when you're pushing your foot on the brake pedal, it's just pushing this just ever so slightly forward, just because that's how they do, and it's causing a little bit of a bypass of some air, because it should be airtight. Now, I've looked under the servo on Barry, and I'm not going to film taking it off, because to be honest with you, it'll be so fucking boring. And I've got to do some rust treatments under there, because he is looking a bit sore. I mean, this is stuff I should have done years ago. We didn't, did we? I know, mate, I know. Sorry, I'm making up for it now. I'm paying for it now, more like. So we've got to do all this fixing. But I'll show you, when I get it all off, the state of the brake servo, because it's a little bit rusty. But I think when I take master cylinder off and this, there'll be a nasty ring of rust, which has caused me all the problems. Why, however, when the pedal has just done what it's done, when it just travels too far, when the servo's on, I don't know. We really don't know what's going on, because there isn't a hydraulic leak. It's not leaking fluid at all. The fluid level stayed where it was, because I kept looking and I thought, if that's going to start dropping, there's any wetness underneath, then, you know, got to Dover. I just thought, no, I'll just turn around, call the big yellow and get him towed home. But nothing happened. So I was like, it's very peculiar. Anyway, stay tuned, because as I go through this, I will change my clothing, because these are new, clean clothes. And I'll sort of try and see how far we get. Welcome back to part 2, because I have got the servo off. I can tell you now, it's a good job I couldn't film it, or I didn't film it, because there were some swears. Actually, I'm bloody lying. There was a lot of kin swears, because it's a pain in the arse. To get it off, you need to disconnect one of the track rods, because it just all gets in the way. Looks like, for crying out loud. However, I did discover something, because there's something on these servos that I've always wondered, what the bloody hell they do? And it's this little pipe here. And I almost thought I cured it. And I thought, oh, we've got a leak. That's what it is. There is a leak. It's just not that one. Because what it was is, for some reason, there's a takeoff from this that then run in to the front wheel arch. And you go, oh, but no one knows really what it's for. Actually, honestly, no one really knows what it's for. However, I was playing back with it, the engine running, and I was like, pump it, cover it over, and it stops the leak. And it sort of pushes it back. And I thought, oh, that gives me a firm pedal. I thought, like it used to be. I thought, that's the problem. I thought, this pipe that's slightly kinked and slightly old, I thought it's cracked, it's split, and that's what's doing the problem. No, it's not. And I'll tell you why. Because when I blow into this, hang on, I'm going to try and I have to put it in the microphone so you can hear it. But if I go, nothing, if I push in, it helps. You can't make any funny noises. However, there is something really quite disgusting about the old servo, as I have discovered because having taken it off. And here we are. Oh, I also had another thing. I had to break one of the brake pipes because it was a little bit rusty. Now, this is the old servo. Now, my plan or idea was that rust around here. Well, no, it wasn't that. But it's this. Now, hopefully the mic will pick this up, because if I do this, roll into it, nothing. But it's the moment you press power or pedal, it sounds like, I'm going to move the mic. It sounds like literally someone has got excessively bad diarrhea. It sounds disgusting, and oh, it's spraying actually awful rusty liquid. Oh, God, that's all over my mic, and over the thing. So if you look there, you might be able to see some spots of liquid, and that's coming out of my servo. So my friend said to me, yes, possibility that your diaphragm is split. Oh, and it is split, because I must say it is also incredibly wet down there. Now, not wet from brake fluid, but it's sort of quite rusty. So it wouldn't surprise me if the diaphragm has actually lifted off because moisture's in there, and it's then just rotted itself out over, how old are you? 49 years. He's a year younger than me. So I am going to then, as a course, natural course, I'm going to cut this open and we're going to look inside. Not today. I've got to make a brake pipe and I've got to do some rust treatments. But so there we go. I think we have found the problem. The brake servo buggered. And I thought, oh, I might better replace the brake servo without taking the master cylinder off. No, it's really a pain in the arse now. I'll shove my camera phone under there and show the actual mess that is now under Barry. But there we go. So I think we're on to a winner. Now, I have got the brake servo here, and as you saw, I've cut it open because I'm having a look inside, because I think I need to find out why or what went wrong. And we have found it. And in here, just here, there is a split. There is a tiny split. I have made it a little bit longer because I've shoved a screwdriver in it several times. But there's a split just here. I'm going to bring the camera to show you. If I bring the camera in, oh, hang on. You can see there is a split. And that is what was causing me the problem. Now, if you look down here, it literally just looks like the contents of a rather horrible toilet sewer disgustingness. But yeah, that is the problem. It's literally, why it's split, I don't know. It's possibly because this rubber isn't designed for brake fluid. I think that is the only explanation. But when I have pushed around on the servo, the rest of the rubber, though covered in brake fluid, is pretty much intact. But it's just this one little split here which was causing all the problems. So, of course, this thing filled with a little bit of brake fluid, which, to be honest with you, it must have been filled with brake fluid for quite some time, has literally just rotted or split that rubber away. However, there are a few other things I've noticed on this servo, and I'm going to try and explain them to you next. Now, just showing you where the split is, and that was a problem with this servo. That's what's caused me to go and make it sound like a toilet. Now, how does the servo work? Well, one thing I've noticed, there's some holes here and a hole there. Now, those are holes which must be for the vacuum, because when this returns, it actually goes around, it gets sort of trapped in within the diaphragm. So, of course, those holes just help air and help this return all the way. Otherwise, it sort of sticks in about, oh gosh, about a good inch. Yeah, probably a good inch that would set in. Because your actual brake servo, when you press the brakes, doesn't actually go in that far. I would say it goes in probably only about 2 inches anyway when you push your foot on the brake pedal. Now if you're going, oh no, don't do it, it goes further, you might have a problem with the brakes. But if you look between what's working to stop, only a few inches on the master cylinder. Your pedal might be travelling further. However, we've got to oh God, oh my God, this is really, oh, it's disgusting inside. However, so how does the servo work? Well, you've got the cover, which has got a takeoff, and it goes, and it gets sucked by your manifold. And then what happens is, when you push your foot on the brake pedal, what happens is, because of the diaphragm, because of the suck that's happening here, push your foot on the brake pedal, and it goes, oh, it just assists, makes the pedal nice. But it needs to return, because your inlet manifold is constantly sucking, and it sucks quite strong. You sort of think, oh, it's only a little suck, but if you're driving fast, it sucks quite a lot. Now, when you're driving fast and you hit the brakes, or you gently brake because you want to slow down or lose some speed because you've seen, I don't know, the fuzz in the camera van just around the corner, and you go, oh bugger, better hit the brakes. Hit the brakes and this thing doesn't return, you're going to lock everything up. That spring that I've got, that I came off here, yeah, it doesn't feel much, but when it's compressed, it really is a lot stronger. And of course that just sort of helps push that, ooh, make sure it doesn't go over my clean jeans. Helps push it back, stops the brakes applying, because under pressure, because I think they call this, if that's positive, I think this is negative pressure because it's being sucked, so it's not having anything into it. But yeah, so that is what is happening with your servo, and it's this diaphragm, which really is quite a chunky, thick bit of rubber, really, that has to do quite a lot in keeping it all together. However, there is something else I've discovered, and I did sort of rabbit on about it, and I've had to do it again because I didn't quite understand, but now I do. So, the other thing I've got is this vent tube, because with that vent tube, I'm just going to pop it back on to the servo. You can't see it because I'm actually doing off camera. Sort of. See, it sits like that. So this here sits here, and then what happens is when you push your foot on the pedal, sorry, I'm going to be careful because it's jagged metal, very sharp. This goes in and out. He says, hang on, yeah, in and out. So this squashes in and out. And of course, there is an amount of air that is caught in there, because that moving this much, about I would say about, yes, about 2 inches that moves. So that has to vent somewhere, because otherwise this rubber boot just goes, because there is a bit of pressure, because you sort of go, well, it's only moving in that much. That's not actually airtight, because when I blow through this, and I'm not going to because it absolutely tastes disgusting, and I've just done that in a previous outtake, and I just went, oh, that's disgusting. It's not airtight. So that, when I hit the pedal, that's also got air inside. There's some air, we say positive air, I could be wrong. Someone's going to bound to correct me, but there's some air in there, so when it comes out, it's got to go somewhere. It's got a vent. So it's just a vent. There's nothing exciting about this. And why does it have those? Well, because your brake servo on a T2 sits underneath. Now, actually, one thing, I don't know if there's one on a T25. Someone correct me with a T25. Do you have one of these? I haven't looked under a T25 for years, so I couldn't tell you. But under the T2, this is all exposed. See, in your hatchback, that's bolted up against your bulkhead. Doesn't get dirty, doesn't get wet, just gets a little bit dusty, but that's all it does. Underneath the T2, gets all sorts of crap thrown at it. So that's probably why you need it. And also it sits that way, so if you've got dirt, blows over it there. Bugger it up quite quick. But yeah, that's what that is. So that is just a vent. So if anyone goes, oh, I have no idea what it is, you can bore them and wow them with information that it is just a vent that just lets expanded air out. Yeah, that's it really. That is it. I want to sort of make it more elaborate and more like sort of, wow, I've just discovered, I don't know, oh, pardon me, I've just discovered, I don't know what, the Aztecs. I've just discovered a pot of gold at the bottom of my garden. I'm going to share it with everyone. No, it's just a rubber boat that sits on top of a servo. God, I used to think when I turned old, my life would be exciting. But you know, I'm all right with that. Quite content. Quite like not having too much of a drama. Yeah. Anyway, welcome. I think this is part 3 of Barry and his brakes, because his brakes are now working all right. He's up on ramp skin because the alternator's gone a bit wonky, we're a bit loose. A bolt's fallen off and I've got to fix it. However, not where we come through, we've come to discuss the brakes. And I just edited that bit down about cutting this open, and then suddenly I thought, oh, I've not explained why the pedal, because of what happened in here, has caused it to go really soft. When you'd think a diaphragm splitting, the pedal would then stiffen up. And I'll tell you why. I really don't. I really do not know why it did that. And I'm sitting here racking my brains, and I've made coffee, obviously, and I'm sitting there going, why? If there's a split in the diaphragm and air is escaping, surely then it's lost its vacuum, so it should, in theory, the pedal should then stiffen up because it's got no assistance to help pull this part in to help push the master cylinder. And I'm like, no, still doesn't make any sense because that should go loose. And as I say, when I drove with the ignition off, this not under vacuum, the pedal nice and firm. I don't know. So I am none the wiser. However, one thing that did cross my mind, this thing is constantly suck. Your master cylinder, that seal at the end, really is going through a lot because it's pushing fluid that way, but it's also being sucked that way. So it's really going through a lot of stress. Now, my only understanding is that as the pedal is pushed, so I'm looking to the sky because it's the only way I can think about how to work. If that's being sucked, that's being pulled out. But see, then the suck, it loses the suck, and it should then go back in. So, no, I'm still none the wiser as to why that leak caused the pedal to really, for want of a better word, bugger off, travel further to the floor. Nothing happening. Can't think. If I do have a brain fart and go, ooh, that's what it was, I'll come back and I'll do another piece. But in the meantime, I haven't got a clue. So any of those who are watching, if you think you've got an idea of why the pedal travelled further before it did anything, let me know. The only thing I can think of, and I think it's the only explanation, and I can't really say it is or it isn't because I've replaced it, is the brake master cylinder. Was that actually also at fault? And it just so happened, this going and that went at the same time, to cause that? I don't know. As I say, it didn't feel like there was air in the system because if I pumped the pedal, it made no difference at all. And you could feel when you pushed the pedal down what was going on. Back brakes on him, out of adjustment, not now, handbrake nice and good. And you could feel it's slightly through the pedal. As I say, none the wiser. Anyway, I think, oh, there's that washer gone. Oh, I've lost a washer and now I've just found it. It's amazing what you find in the garden. Anyway, I'm going to carry on with the coffee and ponder more because I've got cars broken in various states of disrepair. Anyway, mind you go, take care. See you soon. Anyways, why couldn't you bloody do that, you stupid GoPro, when we were in Turkey? Just said to it, GoPro, don't... Worn out now. Literally, I've just run around and I went, oh, I'll put my t-shirt on inside out, or back to front or something. It's really aggravating my neck. Oh, sorry, mate. Do you think the makers of GoPro, with their insurance policy, like, oh, if you damage it, we'll replace it? We'll actually replace it if I throw this thing across the fucking garage and hit it with a fucking hammer. My battery's just gone beep, 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 panic, 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 shut itself down at 85%. And it went, your GoPro has shut down because the battery had gone flat at 85%. Fucking hate these things, honestly. Oh, hang on. Oh, Barry, I'll get my arse comfy. Gee, your both riders really are quite nice to lean against. Oh, I should have repaired that before we got there. See? Yeah. Anyway, GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. Stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. Oh, GoPro, you're a miserable cunt. Oh, you miserable cunt. GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording.